So this video is going to be about observation and inferences. All right, so let's get started. When you take in information, you're observing. Okay, that's what observing is. And scientists are really good observers. They are always taking in information, and you want to take in as much information as possible because you use this information to make inferences. And we'll get to what inferences are in a little bit. All right, so when you take in information, you use your five senses. So what are your five senses? You have touch, you have smell, taste, you have your hearing, and probably most importantly for a human is your sight. Now it depends on what organism you are. Okay, so if you're a dog, your most important observation sense probably would be your nose, would be your sense of smell. They see their world more in smells than they might even see it in vision. If you're a human and you're blind, then you wouldn't use sight as your most important sense of observation, then you would use touch. Okay, so it depends on what organism you are, but generally speaking, most organisms are going to use their five senses, at least the animals and the stuff that we're going to talk about. All right, so let's make some observations about some things. All right, so here I found this on my desk. All right, so I go to observe it and I touch it first and I say, it's pliable like this, okay? So it's not very hard, it's bendy, you know, I can rip it in half. It's a little bit like off-white with color. Okay, so I'm using my touch first. It's rectangular. If I wanted to get really picky on my observations, I might measure it like this. I might take a ruler, and this is a tool. Tools like a ruler can help what we call extend your senses. It can kind of make you superhuman. I can say that it is 20 millimeters in length, and it's 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters in width. I might even be able to get a magnifying glass and really kind of zoom in on it and see its texture a little bit better. If it was really small, then I would use a tool like this, right? So scientists have all sorts of tools to help observe their world so they can be really specific with their observations. If I wanted to know how much it weighed, then I would use a scale. Right? So I could get all sorts of observations. Let's keep going with it though, because I got more senses, right? I could listen to it, I suppose, and see if it made any noises. It doesn't, so that sense is kind of useless when it comes to this one. And then finally, if I think it's safe enough, and I smell it, I can say, ooh, it kind of smells minty. And then also, when I'm making my observations, I can use, I have some background knowledge. I've been on the earth a little bit. You know what this looks like to me? I think it's safe. I'm going to taste it. Yeah, and it kind of tastes minty, right? And I can describe the texture in my mouth and the taste of it. So in the relation to this, I can use all five senses because it was safe. All right, now I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to infer, based on my observations, that this is a piece of gum. Okay, so my inference was based on my observations. All right, so inferences are always based on your observations. And in your observations, if they're not good, then your inferences won't be good. All right. All right, on to the next one. I'll give you more examples. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, so I find this in the field and I start making observations on it. All right, so I can say that it's white. I can say that it has these ridges down here. It weighs about 5 or 6 ounces, I would say. Okay, I could take my ruler and I could measure it. All right, I'm not going to taste this, obviously. That's not safe. I can listen to it, I guess. I can smell it, right, and describe the odor of it if it had any. Okay. I could describe how it feels, saying that it's kind of hard. It's got these holes that go through it. Okay, so now based on my observations and a little bit about my background knowledge, now I'm going to make an inference. So my inference is going to be based on it. I think that this is a conclusion, right? Based on my observations, I think this is a deer. And because I have a little bit more background knowledge that always affects your inferences, I think it's a male deer. I think it's a buck. And if I wanted to go even further, I could say that it's young, because its antlers are not very big. Because I know that the older bucks are, the bigger their antlers can be. All right, so based on my observations, my inference is that this is a deer, it's a male, and it's young. Probably could also infer what it eats. Look at the teeth on this. Do those teeth look like it's meant for grinding things or biting and killing prey? Probably more grinding things, right? So it's good at eating corn and acorns and leaves and those sorts of things. Let's stick with an animal. I'll give you another example. All right, so here's another one I found out in the back of the woods. Well, this is a little bit different here. So again, I make my observations, describe the texture and the feel of this and maybe the length of it, right? And then when it comes time to make an inference, then now this is my best guess, right? So based on my observations, I would say that maybe this is a dog or a coyote, and that this organism is a meat eater because of these right here, by its teeth. So we could take an animal's teeth and we can infer kind of what it eats, what its diet is. And we've done this with dinosaurs and fossils for a long time. All right. Now, some of the information and observations that we get are what we call qualitative, and some of them are quantitative. So let me give you some examples of what that is. Qualitative are probably the most common ones, because these are just based on statements that are not measured. Okay, so for instance, we could look at the liquid in here. Qualitative ones would just say that this is fairly liquidy, right? It might be color, that this is very dark, almost blackish brown in color. But quantitative would be that this is exactly 1 cup. So when there's a number attached, that's quantitative. If I wanted to, I could stick the thermometer in here, and I could go from saying this liquid feels cool or warm, which would be qualitative, and then if I wanted quantity or quantitative, I could stick the thermometer in here and say, this liquid is 75 degrees. Okay, so quantitative is always based on a number, a degrees, a measurement, okay, a volume, a weight. So again, I could say this feels fairly heavy, or I could weigh it and say that this is 1 pound, okay, or half a kilogram, or whatever the quantity is. Quantitative is numbers. All right, so again, observations are based on your 5 senses. Make sure you know what your 5 senses are. The better your observations, the better your inferences are going to be. And also, if you have background knowledge on something, that always helps you to be a better inferencer as well. And quantitative is observations with numbers attached, and qualitative are observations that are based on general descriptions using your 5 senses. Okay.